Just going to start off by giving you just a few quotes from 3 members of Congress who serve in this current Congress, 112th Congress now. Islam, quote, is very vile, very vicious enemy that we have allowed to come in this country because we ride around with bumper stickers that say coexist. There are too many mosques in America. I am running for the people of the District of 2nd North Carolina, who are good, hardworking Christian people. These were the comments of Congressman Allen West, Chairman Peter King, and Congresswoman Renee Elmers, respectively. When different people present different views on issues, it's important that we are able to engage in a discourse and dialogue about them. When it's elected officials who are talking about the American Muslim community, often the Arab American community, in a way like this, it's a slightly different kind of dynamic. And that is why we convened their panel today.
You know, just going to the quote that was read from Allen West, who attacked, this is a few weeks ago, responded to a question from a Muslim American citizen by saying that you attacked us collectively, you. It's hard to think of another group about whom this sort of collective guilt, this sort of assertion would be acceptable, but unfortunately this is the environment we see in America right now.
For Muslims, South Asians, Sikhs, and Arab Americans, as well as those perceived to be from these communities, the climate in our country today poses significant problems, but we also believe that our country's fundamental values, justice, equality, freedom of expression, and religion, can be preserved and strengthened if we push back against all forms of discrimination, wherever and whenever they occur. First, in terms of safety at schools, the workplace, and other institutions, Muslims and those perceived to be Muslim have endured bullying and discrimination in greater numbers over the past decade. And these experiences get even worse in our communities when there are clear expressions of Islamophobia in the media or from political figures. This expression of feeling unsafe reverberated even more significantly during and after the Park 51 controversy. Community members were assaulted, including a Bangladeshi cab driver in New York City, Ahmad Sharif, whose throat was slashed by a passenger who asked if he was Muslim right before the attack. In addition, with the vandalism of mosques in New York, Tennessee, and California to the proposed Quran burnings last summer, many community members feel unsafe practicing their religion in their own faith institutions. As recently as January of this year, a Southern California man was arrested in a car with explosives outside one of the nation's largest mosques in Dearborn, Michigan. The climate of Islamophobia can chill civic and political participation among Muslims and other community members who are worried about being perceived as national security threats or outsiders.
Essentially, the idea, though, that Muslim organizations and Muslim communities are trying to use our democracy against itself and use the legal system against itself, where they're trying to allegedly shut down free speech when they're filing lawsuits against discrimination. Of course, the irony is that the very people who are accusing our community organizations and communities of shutting down free speech are actually advocating for the very types of policies and mindsets that would basically deny any sort of meaningful access and an ability for Muslim Americans to participate in our society like any other faith-based or any other community group here in America. When we're talking about Islam as the enemy, we're not talking about focusing on the bad guys, focusing on violent criminals. What we're talking about is the demonization and criminalization of an entire American faith community here in our nation. When you're looking at it in historical perspective, it really parallels in many ways sort of the McCarthy-like themes of this sort of subversion, and it's really replacing, instead of the communist threat, it's now being replaced by the Muslim threat.
The answer in responding to these guys is really free speech, the First Amendment. Not only free speech when it comes to religious practice and protecting religious practice for all Americans, regardless of our faith traditions, but also meeting hateful speech with honest speech and dialogue and discourse. We cling to our Constitution as a cherished principle document, and I'm confident that, again, this period right now of intensity towards the Muslim American community will abate, and we'll see that we're all Americans, that we do have challenges, including threats, that we need to face those threats together as Americans, and in the end, we need to preserve liberty.
With the upcoming hearings that are being convened by Representative Peter King, it's an important opportunity for congressional members to make it clear that such a focus on one faith-based community is unfair and contradicts our nation's values, and especially as we are nearing the 10-year anniversary of 9/11.